Direct doesn't always necessarily need to mean abrasive or off-putting or anything like that. Clarity is kindness. And one of the kindest things that you can do for somebody, and also in many ways, this will actually help you get the most out of them, is to make somebody feel important. I'm Michael Mogill, founder and CEO of Crisp, the nation's #1 law firm growth company. I've built my business through practice, not theory. Crisp started with just $500 to my name and has grown to over 8 figures in revenue over the last few years, earning a spot on the Inc. 500 list of the fastest growing private companies in America. Our approach has been to take everything we've learned about generating massive growth within our own organization and help the country's most ambitious and committed law firm owners do the same for theirs. In each episode of this podcast, I sit down with innovative market leaders from the legal industry and beyond to learn from those who thrive in the face of adversity, challenge the status quo, and define what it means to be a true game changer.
This is Jessica, Head of Coaching Strategy at Crisp, and today we're flipping the script for another special edition episode to get Michael's take on how success can create dangerous blind spots, why feedback truly is a gift and how to give it effectively, and how to determine what advice is actually worth taking.
Feedback is great, but not all feedback is created equal. And if you're trying to decide, well, what feedback do you actually apply, I would generally gravitate towards high accountable individuals, and then more specifically in terms of those who have achieved the results that you're trying to achieve.
That's coming up on the Game Changing Attorney podcast. All right, here we are in July. We're over halfway through this year, Michael.
Yeah, once you cross that 50% mark, you got to really look in the mirror and do some soul searching, because it's interesting. There's always like the conversations at the start of the year about all like the things that someone's going to do, like this.
New year, new me.
New year, new me, exactly. And whether it's business goals, personal goals, whatever. And now it's a little progress report time. So how are you doing on those things?
Yeah.
Are you doing everything you set out to do? Are you sticking to the habits that were, important to you? You said you were going to stick to at the start of the year, or have some, probably a lot of people fallen off a little bit. Now, the most dangerous thing is to be at the halfway point of the year and to be discouraged because you didn't stick with certain things. And now you're waiting for the new year to start and saying 2026 is going to be your year. That's a dangerous trap.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you that you do not have to wait 6 months to give it another go. In fact, there's no time like the present to pick up the pieces and try again. So if we're at the halfway point, and again, it's not how you start, right? It's always how you finish, but it's really doing and we do this, I probably don't just do this at the 6 month point, we do this every month.
Oh, yeah.
Right? To some extent, I do this almost every week.
Yes.
But just to see, okay, well,
how are we pacing?
Are we on track? Are we off track? And this is pretty wild, because I know people are like, of course you do this for the business, right? You do this for the law firm. You track our metrics. We got our KPIs. But what about your personal goals?
Yeah. Got a weekly meeting for that too.
Yeah. So like one of the ones I hit recently was on the Peloton, right? There's like that 20K annual badge, right? Which is 20,000 minutes. I wish they went a little higher, but that's as high as it goes. You can earn badges based on how much time, whether you use like the bike, the tread, the rower. And there's like one you get at 1,000, then 2,000, then 3, then it goes up to 5, and then it goes to like 8, 10, 15, 18, whatever, 20,000. And at the halfway point of the year, I hit the 20,000, which means 20,000 minutes is roughly 300 hours, 333 hours. And if you talk about how many days are in a year, I mean, that equates to averaging almost 2 hours a day in terms of on a bike, a rower, or a treadmill. And I remember, a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, where I didn't hit that till like November. And I was like, man, I can't miss this thing, right? It was either November or early December. And I was so excited. Now, hitting that at the halfway point of the year.
Progress.
And I'm saying, okay, what if I get another one? All right,
Yeah.
Peloton doesn't give the badges out, but, I can calculate 20,000 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? To say, okay, what about 40,000 minutes? What about 666 hours? I like the sound of that. But I just see a lot of people give up. They give up because they didn't stick to their habits. And then rather than starting again today or tomorrow, they say, I'll start in the new year. And what do you think is going to happen? If you got that mentality, it's just going to be a repeat of of what just happened. So there's no rule that says you have to start a new habit on the first of the year. In fact, you can start right after you listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
And I would encourage you to do that. And if you are off track, guess what? Nobody's perfect. And there's times where I'm off track.
Always.
Like,
yeah.
Things that you don't anticipate, things you don't plan for. But my rule is that I never miss twice, because I think once you do that, you start to disrespect yourself. Right now, I get it. Oh, I was sick, or I got food poisoning, or whatever. Like, okay, great, that happened. So when we starting up again? Because if you stay out of the water for too long, it's like that cold plunge. Right? I do it every day, and I hate it every day. And I think hate's a strong word. I don't say I hate it. Right? I respect it. I respect it every day. I respect the depths that it takes me to get into an ice bath. But at the same time, I'll tell you what, you stay out of that thing for a few days, a few weeks, you do not want to get back in.
No, you casually reminded me this weekend that I had committed to it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got done working out. I was like, oh, yeah, by the way, I left it open for you.
Yeah.
You want to take a little dunk in there?
Yep.
I didn't expect you to do it, but you surprised me.
I'm going to do what I said I was going to do.
100%. 100%. I was proud of you. I was like, man, that water was cold.
Definitely helped that it was 100 degrees outside, but yeah.
That is true. That is true. So if you're at the halfway point and you've given up on certain habits, or let's say you've been inconsistent, I wouldn't say given up, because you'd only fail when you quit. There's no time like the present to get back on track. If the firm isn't pacing where you wanted it to pace, if things aren't working out or panning out, you can make some positive momentum, right? You can make some decisions to just start building momentum. I think it's huge, right? It's huge in sports and it's huge in life, and you just have to start stacking some wins. And they start as maybe as small wins, and then those small wins become the big wins. And, somebody asked me today, we were talking about, what are your thoughts in terms of how we're pacing for the year? And I'm like, I don't really think like that anymore in terms of just pacing for the year. I think about the next 12 months and I think about the next 3 years. So in the short term, I'm always very pessimistic. And in the long term, I'm very optimistic. So instead of thinking about where do I need to be at the end of the year, think about where do you want to be at this time next year. A little bit of, thoughts to consider. But this is the AMMA. We got to transition to the questions where you guys submit the questions. Could be about anything as long as it's business, leadership, people, culture, marketing, etc. Just growth. Yes, it could be about anything as long as it's those topics.
Right.
You guys submit the questions at 404-531-7691. Just text us. Jessica compiles the questions. We answer them here on the show. And if you're tuning in for the first time, maybe the second time, we do a couple different types of episodes on this podcast. We got the AMMAs, which you're listening to, the traditional interview format question, just basically bring on a guest, a podcast, if you will, interview the guest. The encore editions are the third type of episode or show that we do on here, which is bringing back some of our most popular episodes. I read a book recently that I read years and years ago, and I loved it years ago, but I read it about a month ago. Resonated with me completely differently.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The Hard Thing About Hard Things.
Yeah.
Right, by Ben Horowitz. Fantastic book. One of my favorite business books of all time. It had certain takeaways when I read it in the early days of starting the business versus today. So that's what the encore editions are for, right? They bring it back, some of the most popular episodes. And you might notice something on this podcast, and that is the absence of advertisements. We do not run any ads on this show, meaning that there's no sponsors, there's no one trying to sell you anything. The podcast is completely free. So all that we ask, right, it's not free to produce, but it is free for you to listen to. And it's if you get any sort of value from this podcast, if we make you laugh or if we make you cry, that you please go and leave us a review on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and that you share the show with somebody that you feel it would be valuable to. That's what helps us reach more people, right? Do those things. We will keep the podcast free. Otherwise, we may have to consider bringing on some sponsors to run ads. I'm just kidding. We're never going to do that.
Never.
All right, Jessica, what questions do we have this week?
All right. Great joke there. So question number 1. Michael, I've been running my estate planning practice for 8 years, and I'm starting to feel like things are plateauing. We're not doing poorly, but we no longer have any massive growth years, and everything just feels flat. My team agrees with most of my decisions. Clients are generally happy, and we're profitable. But I have this nagging feeling that I'm missing something or could be doing things better. How do you know when you need an outside perspective if everything seems to be working fine?
Based on the way that question was worded, maybe we have two different definitions of fine.
Yeah, what is fine?
You're saying like the firm is plateauing, and the very fact that you are asking this question would imply that things are not utopic,
Right.
So if it's not fine, then you get to choose whether you're going to do something about it or not. And where you are right now is one of the most dangerous places to be. And that is the comfort zone, right? It's easy when you've got a fire lit under your ass and you're in survival mode to just be hustling and grinding and just working hard because you're trying to build something. You went off on your own, you decided to start your law firm, and now you've got your family relying on you, you got this team relying on you. It's like, of course, you have a reason to wake up every single day, because if you don't, this whole thing's going to fall apart. And then after all these years of working so hard to get to a place where you have a bit of stability and comfort, it's actually kind of amazing. We talked about this, but it's just like the cold plunge.
Yeah.
Imagine, I've heard people say, hey, I like the sauna, but I don't like the cold plunge. And I'm like, is that so? You mean the one that's warm and nice? You prefer that to the one that's an ice box? Yeah, of course. So like one's designed for comfort and the other is designed for
discomfort.
And it's the same way. If you get in a warm tub of water, then it wouldn't have the same amount of utility, right? Everybody likes getting into a jacuzzi or a hot tub. What's the difference between a jacuzzi and a hot tub? I don't know.
No idea.
Right?
That would be a great question for AI.
Maybe somebody could submit the answer to that, right? Or we could just ask ChatGPT. It's the most dangerous place to be because, well, you're comfortable and everything is fine.
Yes.
And everybody agrees. Everybody agrees with everything because
right.
Human beings, their nature gravitates towards homeostasis. People don't want to be swimming upstream. I want to move in the direction of the maximum amount of comfort. You got to be an absolute psychopath to chase discomfort. It's my kind of person, right?
I know.
But most human beings, if you are sitting in a room, meeting with them and saying, hey guys, we got two options we can do. Now we can get into a jacuzzi or we can get into a cold plunge. Which do you guys prefer? And I bet you that the majority of that room is going to go with the jacuzzi.
Yes.
Or hot tub. However,
whatever you call it.
Whatever language you associate with that. So this is what makes this so hard. And it is the question of like, do you bring in an outside perspective? Yeah, perhaps. You're getting one right now. And I would say that if you're completely content, truly, like, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Like if you are happy with where you are and you have no desire to change that situation, and you're saying, I just want to enjoy the fruits of my labor, et cetera, that sort of thing. And you know that by doing nothing, at least in your mind, you think that this situation will stay the same. So meaning that firm's not going to become less competitive. There's not going to be some industry disruption with private equity and AI that's going to cause you some stress. Like you can continue to operate the way you're operating now and everything can stay the way that it is and everybody's happy, then great, do that. Like who could blame you? But if you secretly don't believe that that is true, and that you're operating on borrowed time, well, then really what's happening is you're going to essentially you've got short-term pleasure for long-term pain. And I'm a fan of the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of short-term pain for long-term pleasure, right? It's like the hard road leads to the easy life.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of delayed gratification. I'm a big fan of pain up front. Like, absolutely, right? It's like, man, I don't want pain later. The reality of it is like, do you need to bring in an outside perspective? Maybe. But you're getting one right now.
Yeah.
And if everything is truly fine, when things are fine, people aren't asking other people for advice.
That is very true. All right, question number 2. Hey, Michael, I wanted to get help with something. You're very direct, which is similar to my style of communication, but I often struggle with this approach for feedback with my team. When I point out mistakes or areas of growth, people seem to either get super defensive or just nod and continue doing the same things. I feel like I'm either too direct and hurt feelings or too soft and nothing changes. What am I missing? Direct. You don't say.
Well, I will be the first to say that this is an area of growth for me. Okay. So meaning that I don't want to give you any sort of advice that I myself am not taking. And this is not my strong suit, but I have learned a number of things and I'm better today, at least I feel, than I was 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but I still have a lot of work to do. And as you taught me, Jessica, it's not what you say, but how you say it.
The delivery.
It is the delivery of said message. And all I can say from my experience is that sometimes you have to cater that delivery to your audience. So for example, I can deliver a message a certain way for our sales team and a different way for our client services team and a different way for our finance team. And if you deliver it the same way, well, it's going to, resonate with some people and not others. But I think it's an overarching thing, right? Because intent does matter. And I think intent matters a lot. So you can still be direct. Direct doesn't always necessarily need to mean like abrasive or off-putting or anything like that. I mean, clarity is kindness. And one of the kindest things that you can do for somebody, and also in many ways, this will actually help you get the most out of them, is to make somebody feel important. So for example, if we're talking about something that needs to improve or an area of growth, right? And I'm meeting with one of our leaders, it's not so much a accusation audit of them of saying like, you've done X, Y, and Z wrong. We're not, critiquing the person, we're critiquing the problem. And if we are aligned on here's where we're trying to go, here's what the vision is, here's where we're trying to get to, like we're aligned there, because you have to start there. If you're not aligned on where you're trying to go and really what you're trying to achieve, then I would kind of dial it back and say, what are we doing here, right? Like you have these goals, this vision for your life, your future, your career. I want to be able to help you get there, right? Here's the vision for the business. And if by accomplishing this vision, it enables you to accomplish yours, right? Then we have alignment. So then we're thinking about, okay, well, but let's say things aren't where they need to be from a performance standpoint. Again, we can critique the problem without having to critique the person, and that can come back to intent. To me, it's not harsh. I don't know. This is a hard one for me.
Yeah.
Like Kim Scott, who's been on this podcast twice now, who wrote Radical Candor, actually believes that, when you are not having these types of conversations, that's one of the greatest forms of cruelty. For somebody to not know where they stand, and it's almost, I forget all the 4 quadrants that she has, Radical Candor being one of them. When you have a degree of ambivalence, it's true cruelty, right? Like when you basically don't care about somebody, apathy, you don't care enough to deliver feedback for them, you are hurting them and you're hurting their growth. And when you are actually to me in many ways, it's like an act of love to care about somebody enough to be able to coach them and provide them with feedback. But how things are received at the ears are sometimes different from how they are communicated at the mouth. Yeah. So you're going to attract probably more flies with honey. And I really do think that it comes down to making somebody feel important and that you value them. And that's why you're having this conversation with them, because you can't do it alone and you want their help and you want their collaboration. But what are your thoughts on this? That's just what I've learned.
I agree. One, you have gotten better about this. But at the same time, it's necessary. I think the biggest key a lot of times is when a leader hits the point of apathy, like it's too late. You want to make sure that you're having those conversations, addressing head on, and it doesn't come naturally to everyone. It doesn't come naturally to me. It's finding that balance there of effectively getting it across the line. And I think even to where you said you may say things one way and someone hears it another way is no different than in some meetings when you're like, okay, repeat back to me what I just said. Did they hear what it is that you just said?
You're going to say, tengo el gato en los pantalones. I got a cat in my pants. And I'm like, that's not what I said. Okay, and if someone can tell me what movie that was from, I'll send you a piece of swag. Just text us 404-531-7691.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is, but that's not a surprise. I don't know shows and movies.
That's okay.
So
that's okay.
You'll have to tune into the next episode to get the answer.
All right, what's the last one?
All right, last one today. Michael, something I committed to this year was doing better about getting more feedback so that I can grow as a leader. It's been a great exercise, but I get such different responses depending on the person I ask. How do you determine what feedback to actually take?
Ooh, well, this is worded nicely. So feedback is a gift. It truly is. And it's one of the best things that you can do is get feedback from the people around you. So even in meetings, saying, hey, what feedback do you have for me? What could I do better? There is requesting feedback. And then there is knowledge isn't power unless it comes with some sort of behavioral change, right? So then the question is, how do I decide who to take feedback from, right? Because everyone can give it.
Yeah.
Right? You got people without kids talking about how you should raise kids. You got people without teams telling you how you should build a team. You got people without money telling you how to invest money. Everybody's got advice on what you should eat, how you should sleep, how you should grow your business, right? People whose businesses are flailing are telling you, here's how you grow a business, right? Take my course. $97 a month, right? On 6 payments. And, you'll find out how I became, a real estate millionaire. And it's probably by selling courses for $97 a month on how to become a real estate millionaire. So when it comes to receiving feedback, I think the best piece of advice is to not take the feedback in terms of applying of anybody that you would see as not an accountable individual or who doesn't have the results that you're trying to achieve or aspire to. That doesn't mean that you can take feedback from your team, because I think you absolutely should. But when it comes to, like, when we receive feedback from the team, I put a lot more weight on team members who are highly accountable.
Yes.
And those that have been very consistent. and that have been very grown with the organization versus somebody who's out all the time or like just, missing targets and so on. I mean, yes, they're going to have a lot of thoughts, and those, their feedback usually comes from a place of comfort as opposed to a highly accountable individual where their feedback comes from a place of like growth and progress.
Yes.
So it's just recognizing that feedback is great, but not all feedback is created equal. And if you're trying to decide, well, what feedback do you actually apply? I would generally gravitate towards high accountable individuals. And then more specifically, in terms of those who have achieved the results that you're trying to achieve, because you're more likely to get closer to what the truth is and what the reality is. We wrap that up in a little bow.
Little bow right there. Till next time, we'll find out what movie or show you quoted.
That's right. Until next time, thank you.
You've been listening to the Game Changing Attorney podcast with Michael Mogill. If you found this episode valuable, here are 3 free ways that we can help you grow your law firm. Number 1, download the first chapter of Michael's book absolutely free at gamechangingattorney.com. Number 2, you can shoot Michael a text at 404-531-7691 and ask him any question you'd like. You might just hear the answer on the next episode. And finally, number 3, if you can leave this podcast a 5-star review, it will help us gain access to more influential thought leaders and bring their lessons learned here to you. For more information on this episode, see the show notes in your podcast app or visit legalpodcast.com.